Welcome to Star Wars The Old Republic at the Edge of Casual. I am your host Verso, and this is a bit of a different feature from what I usually do, and if I have some time I'll discuss a little bit what I'm attempting to get at here. But I just want to be clear, get this up front here. This is not a Let's Play because I am terrible at doing Let's Plays, so I recorded this previously and I'm just going to kind of record a commentary track on top of it, sort of in the vein of, I don't know, what you might find on like a movie DVD or Blu-ray. So Star Wars The Old Republic is a game with which I have extensive experience, though I haven't really played it in about a year or so, though I have been subscribed since launch. We're going to talk about all this over the course of this video. I've already made peace with the fact I won't be able to say everything that I want to say. So if you're a fan of the game and you just want to chat about this some more, feel free to get a discussion going in the comments and I will definitely participate. With all that said, I did want to talk about character creation a little bit. So Star Wars The Old Republic has an aesthetic, right? It doesn't look particularly, I mean, I would say it looks a little bit dated at this point, though with that said, I think it looked a little bit dated even at release. So that was a conscious decision on their part to kind of create a specific look, and character creation serves that purpose, though I will say that I am a fool for very good character creation screens, and I will spend hours upon hours in a good character creation screen. I think my favorite ever is probably EVE Online. It's hard to imagine a character creation screen ever being better than that one, if I'm being honest. But you know, I also love The Sims 4 and other things. Other games have had pretty good ones as well. But Star Wars: The Old Republic is functional, although I will say at the end of the day, you can usually get a character with which you can be happy. And I've got dozens of characters, and I actually like them all. You know, once you kind of get like a proper outfit on them, it all starts coming together. So, all that said, one thing I appreciate about this game is that they did tend to evoke, or they attempted to evoke the kind of classic Star Wars experience with the scroll, the long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I mean, even more so than some of the recent movies have done. I'm not gonna wander into that minefield right now. But this feels like a very authentic Star Wars product, and I feel like this game got a lot of flack after release for maybe for costing a lot of money to produce, to develop, and maybe not setting the world on fire. People sort of lambasted it as, you know, just another generic MMORPG, but in my experience, definitely not just another generic MMORPG, which, in case you're not aware, that means massively multiplayer online role-playing game. I'm not going to say that every single time, just like I'm probably not going to say Star Wars The Old Republic every single time. People in the know, we call this SWTOR or sweater, or I don't know, choose your pronunciation. Okay, so what you may already know about this game, or if you don't, I'll just inform you, is that at release, and you know, I guess to this day, the game includes eight different classes. There are 4 Imperial classes, in other words, Sith Empire, and 4 Republic classes. And the vanilla experience was that each one of these classes had a completely unique story, 3 acts, full-fledged story that would carry you from level 1 to 50, basically. And, you know, that was groundbreaking at the time, and I think it still is. I don't know of anybody else who has done such a thing in an MMORPG. I mean, this was really like a single-player role-playing game built on top of a massively multiplayer engine. I mean, BioWare actually coined this term for what they were attempting to do. They were attempting to create a 4th pillar to MMORPGs. That probably warrants some explanation, I guess, but hold on one sec. I actually, you know what? I want to hear these guys talk. I love these guys. Harkin is one of my favorite characters in the game.
Get going while I bring our latecomer up to speed.
Watch your back, friend. And don't worry. It'll be all right. He can't kill us all.
I'll attack from the front. You take him from behind.
Additionally, full marks to the female Sith Inquisitor voice actor. Her name is Xanth Elbrick. I love her. I love her voice and her delicious line readings. She just sounds so like she's reveling in her evilness. Though, with that said, I gotta say, you can play a rather light-sided Sith in this game, and it makes sense, I think, particularly on the Sith Inquisitor storyline, where the Sith Inquisitor is more of a philosophical, I don't know, almost like a scholarly character, interested in investigating the mysteries of the Force, and more like a Diplomacist as well. So I think it makes sense to play the Inquisitor as a light-sided Sith. Maybe a little bit more so than it would make sense to play like a darker Jedi character. Actually, I find the Dark Jedi to be rather weird, but probably a topic for another day. Okay, I was talking about classes in this game. I'm going to try to return to that a little bit later. One thing I will say is that one of the things that's great about Star Wars The Old Republic is the quest flow. It's very organic. They did a great job, especially in these early levels. The first few planets are like amazingly fluid. So a word about quests. So as I've already mentioned, you have the class quests, which are a constant throughout the game, and those will carry you throughout the universe. You know, you have a little bit of choice about the order in which you can do some things, but for the most part, your path is sort of charted for you. And then along the way, each world upon which you stop will have a world quest. A world story quest, which gives you really great lore. It kind of carries you through the planet from. So the class quests will kind of take you, to specific places that you need to be. But the world quests will really take you into all the different various questing hubs of a game world and show you all the different aspects of the game world. So if you wanted to, these days in particular, you could almost just ignore everything except for the class quest, especially if you're a subscriber. Kind of get those nice XP bonuses. But I highly, highly recommend that at the very least, even if you kind of hate even if you hate story and you're just here for the MMORPG stuff, that you at least do the world quests, because you're going to learn a lot about the world of the Old Republic by doing them. So a little bit about classes, just the mechanics of the classes. So there are 8 classes, 4 on each side, right? Each of those 4 classes actually has, and I should say these classes are mirrored. So the Sith Inquisitor, for example, is the mirror of the Jedi Consular on the Republic side. And as far as the way these classes play, it's exactly the same. the abilities, they do the exact same thing. They just look different. They have different flavor text. I mean, you may not even notice it. Like if you're a new player and you were to just roll 1 of each, you may not even notice that these classes are exactly mirrored, but they are. But they feel different just because of the way the animations play out and that sort of thing. Okay, so you've got the 4 classes, but then each class has an advanced class. So with the Inquisitor, your advanced class is so you have the Sith Sorcerer and you have the Sith Assassin. The Sorcerer is the character that I've rolled here, and you may have noticed just briefly before when I was picking my tree. So each advanced class has 3 trees from which to choose, and then within those trees you have some additional utility points to spend, which can kind of determine your playstyle. And I think it gives a lot of good variety. So, and then you've got the Sith Assassin, which is more of a Darth Maul-like character. You've got the double-edged saber. You're more of a melee-focused character. The Sorcerer does have a lightsaber, but will almost never use it, especially once you get a few Force powers under your belt. So you may have noticed me there purchasing Force Lightning, which if you ask me, it's kind of like the main reason to play Sith Sorcerer in this game. It's one of the reasons that I think is probably one of the best classes in the game. It's very, to me, quintessential to the whole kind of Sith experience, if you will. So in case you haven't figured it out, the Sith Sorcerer is more in the vein of like a Palpatine-style character. So perhaps somebody that you might underestimate. Doesn't look as physically imposing as like a Darth Maul character, but nevertheless is incredibly clever, can shoot lightning out of her fingers, create force bubbles, push you back, suck the life out of you, and all kinds of awesomeness. She has a total mastery of the Force, in other words. Alright, so this is Spindral. He's a mad hermit of sorts who lives in these Sith tombs. You've been sent here by your overseer, Harkon, who is basically just waiting for you to get yourself killed. Your character is a slave, I should say, and nobody really thinks that you have any chance of succeeding, but you've been identified as somebody who has Force abilities, and the Sith are kind of gearing up for an end to this Cold War between the Empire and the Republic, and so they're trying to kind of shore up their ranks. But you know, they're Sith, so they're not going to make it easy for you to excel. I did want to kind of capture at least one fight on screen, just so you can kind of see how the sorcerer plays a little bit. And these fights are very easy at this level, and they don't look amazing. I would say this game has been out for a while now, and there have been a number of expansions. So there's been a bit of power bloat over the course of the game, I'd say. Toward the end of the game, it can get pretty intimidating with the number of abilities that you've got. Though I will say that they've managed to pull off a pretty impressive balancing act with the upper echelon abilities, and that they don't necessarily trivialize older content, at least entirely. And also they're kept sort of true to the kind of thematic elements of the classes. At least in my opinion. You may disagree.
Well done. But you are not Sith yet. Peace is a lie.
So you've survived your trial here, whatever that was, basically. They're just teaching you a bit about how brutal the Sith Academy can be to acolytes who aren't quite up to snuff, if you know what I mean.
My chains are broken. This is the Sith Code. Commit it to your heart, and you will have the strength to crush your enemies. Do you understand?
So yeah, as I've mentioned, I have been playing this game since launch, on and off as my attention has waxed or waned. You know, you can't play. These MMORPGs can suck the life out of you if you let them. So I just tend to take breaks, and you know, extensive breaks. I'll go away for a year and come back. Because I've loved the game so much, I have tended to keep my subscription active. Probably wasted a lot of money like that, but I was there from day one of early access. I think whenever they opened the servers, 6 a.m. or something like that, I was there to create my character. I've been around the block with this game, and I love it quite a bit. It has changed quite a lot, I guess, over the course of the years. It's become a lot more casual friendly, which is great. Especially for players like me. Though I will say that one of the reasons that I think this was a really special game at launch, and maybe still is that this game has always been very casual friendly and very friendly to solo players. So, you know, I mean, like this is, you know, this thing that I'm doing right now, this is something that I do in my free time, right? Because I've got a wife, I've got kids, I've got a full-time job. And I've got hobbies like this, like doing this YouTube thing. I don't have a ton of time to be playing games. It's not like, you know, back in the old days when I first started with MMORPGs. I think the first one I ever played, just to date myself, was Asheron's Call, which was like 1999 or something like that. I never really did get into EverQuest. I missed that one. And I only ever played a little bit of Ultima Online as virtue of the fact that I actually worked very briefly in customer service for Electronic Arts. But I've been playing. You know, I played some WoW along the way. I played a bunch of Age of Conan before I got into this one. All of these games, I would get kind of very deeply into them, and I would play them a lot. But I would say Star Wars: The Old Republic was the first game that really, like, 100% clicked with me. Alright, so this is where we're kind of seeing that we should not take Harkon lightly, seeing the consequences of failure as we get introduced to our sort of nemesis here, Fawn, who is, I don't know, Harkon considers the quintessential Sith, as he's got no attachments, and he's just pure-blooded as opposed to you, who, I don't know, you're some sort of mongrel, I guess, in his eyes.
Now give us the rest of the trial.
Step this way, slave.
You know, one of the interesting things about playing the Sith Inquisitor as a pure-blooded Sith is that I remember some talk before launch about how BioWare wasn't sure that they wanted to let you play the pureblood as an Inquisitor because of the way the class story starts. You're a slave, and they said, you know, purebloods would never be slaves in the Empire. But thank God they did, because it's one of my favorite species or races, whatever, in the game.
Shut your mouth.
Anyway, we're running out of time here, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it there. I hope you sort of enjoyed your time with this game. If you've never played it, there is a free-to-play option. Geez, I mean, there were like a million things I wanted to talk about that I didn't get a chance to broach. If I even got one comment on this, maybe I'd consider doing another one someday, but I don't hold out any high hopes for that. But in the meantime, have a great day and keep it casual.